Hello, everybody out there in YouTube land and the internet land. Jeff Cross here with Leanne or not Thompson. What's your last name now again?
Sermon.
Leanne Sermon, otherwise known as Leanne Thompson. Hello, Leanne.
Hello.
Thanks for coming on. We appreciate it. In case you didn't know this, Leanne, you are the first female guest of only 4 interviews, but hey, you're still the first one. So
I'm honored.
we're glad you're here, and I've asked Leanne to come on because we want to talk about a few things in her young officiating career and what she's done to have the success where she's at now, and then also what is maybe some of her steps to move forward and get to that end of the rainbow. So before we get started, I just want to say a few things. You need to go on YouTube, follow Jeff Cross. That's my channel. You need to subscribe to it. It's free. And then if you have any questions or comments, you can email those questions to me at jeffcross22@gmail.com. And then Leanne, your email address?
Is L.E. Thompson, that's LETHOMPSON 89@gmail.com.
Perfect. All right. And we'll say that again at the end of the video too, but remember to subscribe to YouTube channel for Jeff Cross. Just search Jeff Cross and you can subscribe to that, and then you'll know when I post things, which is usually once a week. So, all right, before we get started, Leanne, tell us a little bit about yourself. Tell me a little bit about your officiating career, and then maybe a little bit about your professional career.
Yeah, sure. So I started officiating when I was in high school. I actually had to get service hours in order to graduate. And I refereed little kids flag football every Saturday morning, all 4 years of high school. And then I went to college and found out that you could get paid for officiating by working intramurals.
Mm-hmm.
So then I got sucked up into the intramural world. I still remember my first basketball game. I went home crying.
Oh, no.
Because I was so sad. I didn't mess anything up, but I didn't do anything, and I just felt like I was messing up. And it's still crazy to think back on that first day and then think about now. I've now been officiating for, high school basketball for 9 years, and then college for 7. And professionally, I still am in the intramural world. I run the intramural program at DePaul University, and they love that I officiate, so it's great. It works hand in hand, so I can kind of keep both going at the same time.
Awesome. Just to talk about a little bit, you said your first game, you went away crying, you were upset. Not because you did a bad job, you were just afraid that you did a bad job, or what happened there?
Yeah, it was just basketball was faster than football, and I was overwhelmed because I felt I didn't know the rules. I didn't feel prepared, and I was the kind of person that really wanted to be great at everything.
Mm-hmm.
And I just didn't feel great. And that just made me upset. And it kind of shows how kind of thin my skin was when I started, because now very few things can really rattle me like that. But in the beginning, I was very, very raw, raw.
How old were you when you did your first basketball game, if you don't mind me asking?
I was freshman in college, so 18,
19 years old.
Yeah.
Would you say, because there's a lot of young officials out there that are thinking, or maybe just starting whatever sport that is, basketball or baseball or football, whatever that is. Would you write some of that off to just being young?
Yeah. I mean, it's young, and it's, I've never played basketball,
Mm-hmm.
so I wasn't familiar with the sport. So, and I know I just kind of stepped into a world that I was kind of pushed into. So
you felt like you were guessing out there, and it's not a comfortable feeling, is it?
No, it wasn't comfortable at all.
What do I say? You better get comfortable feeling uncomfortable. So
exactly.
Clearly you achieved that. So, all right, awesome. So you're in the intramural world, and we do basketball, probably do a couple other sports too. I mean, we just talked about you do, before we started recording, football. So you do college football also, correct?
Correct.
Yeah. Now, and intramurals, do you teach all that? Do you teach basketball, football, all that?
I do. I train all of our officials, and our officials at work are trained in volleyball, soccer, softball, football, basketball, floor hockey.
Whoa.
everything. So
I didn't know they had officials. All right, cool.
yeah.
All right, so let's talk a little bit about. I know personally that you know had some success in the NCAA women's basketball world. You work Division II basketball, and you work Division III, and I believe you've been even in some playoffs in Division III, and then whatever else, high school or whatever. So just tell me a few steps that you think you went through to get to that. You know, what happened in order for you to get to that kind of success at such a young officiating age?
I think it was mostly just kind of being in the right place at the right time and being able to perform at my highest level. It's weird because I think I've had my best camp season ever this past season. And it was after my best season of basketball, which makes sense because I saw more plays, I gained more confidence. And the confidence was really key because once I put myself in those situations where I did well, I could feel that I was doing the right thing, which then just kept being a mind thing for me. And then I realized I was good enough to be where I was. Once I realized that, I did my job.
Mm-hmm.
When I did my job, people noticed.
Mm-hmm. So how do you think, what was the key things that made you feel more confident besides seeing more plays? Is there anything that I mean, you said you had your best camp season right after you had your best in season. So can you pinpoint how you got there?
Well, I can actually pinpoint it to a conversation.
Okay. Awesome.
I two camps ago, I was attending a Division I camp, and June Corto was a guest speaker there.
Big name. Mm-hmm.
And at the time, I was kind of shell shocked because this is June Corto, who is one of the biggest names in women's basketball officiating. And she was doing a clinic on crew chiefs. And she said that she wanted the crew chiefs to take care of younger officials. And I've been in situations where crew chiefs try to take care of me, and they would offer me advice, try to tell me that what I was looking for. And the more they took care of me, the more I felt like I had to be taken care of. And that got in my game. And after June did her speech, I went up to her. I was like, hey, thank you so much. I really appreciate you talking, but I feel like when crew chiefs take care of me like this, that they're saying that I can't do my job. And June, in the normal June way,
Mm-hmm.
straight face, looks at me and she goes, that's your fault.
Whoa. All right.
And I stood for a second and I was just like, what? It's my fault. And she's like, yeah, it's your fault. They're there trying to help you. If you're insulted by them trying to help you and you let that get into your head, it is your fault.
Mm.
And again, that was 2 years ago. But that speech clicked this season. If I wasn't prepared or if I wasn't in the game, it was my fault. And I started learning that no matter what anyone else said or how anyone else tried to help me, which is what most people do, they really just want you to get better, that I'm going to do my job and I know that I belong there. And I felt it this year.
So I just want to make sure I'm hearing this correctly. It's not, obviously, it's not someone else's fault that you're not progressing. It's your own fault that you're not progressing. If you want to progress, don't sit back and wait for someone to pave the road for you, right? You got to pave your own road. You want to be on the track that you want to be on. Don't put your fate into someone else's hands, if that's what I'm hearing.
100%.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, even to take it a step further, don't wait for someone else to fail before you can be good.
Right.
Like I hear it a lot of times, and that was tough for me too when I was a young official. Is I kind of see the world around me, and some people progress faster, some people slower, people that I thought would be at certain levels aren't.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just thinking too much. Like I have to stay with me. And I can't think, well, I need this person to do worse so that I can progress, or I need this person to do worse so that I can get a championship game. Then I'm not focusing on me.
Mm-hmm.
And the only person that I have control over is myself.
Yeah, a lot of great coaches, great leaders. If you want to win the game, you can't sit back and wait for you can't sit back and wait for the other football team to turn the ball over so you can win the game. You have to go get the football and you have to run with the football. So yeah, that's great advice, I believe. And it's interesting how you probably already knew that,
Yeah.
but you heard it. You heard it, and it was said directly to your face. It wasn't in a multi email to to 10,000 people or 100 people. She wasn't on the web. She was talking to you, and I believe that has so much more teeth to it. It's like, whoa, that's for real. So I think that's a great story. That's an awesome story.
Yeah.
So all right, so tell me how'd you navigate through saying, okay, you know what, if I want to succeed, I have to do it. So what was some of the navigation process that you went through just to get there?
The rule book, really. I realized that in certain circumstances I wasn't as strong. For example, to get like lower defensive box, RAs, those were tough plays for me. So I got in the rule book. I needed to see more clips, more plays, and the more I saw, the more comfortable I got, and the slower it got. The other thing is, as I became more comfortable with the rules, I took charge on the court. I took charge whenever I could. I started getting opportunities to be a crew chief. And I would say the motto that I like to live by whenever I referee is that it's easy to make myself look good. It's difficult to make others look good. So if I have the opportunity, I could blow my whistle on the court all day and get every single foul, but what does that do to the team? And if I have the opportunity to make other officials that are working with me look better, that strengthens us as a crew. So this whole past season, I would say that's probably what helped me the most is I felt the crewness in every single game. If the crew is on point, the game is on point. And
as you say that, I want to ask you this: when you're a crew chief or have an opportunity to be a crew chief, and you make the crew look better, not necessarily make yourself look better, but something happens to make help the crew be better as they officiate the game. Can you feel that? Can you feel like, whoa, we're looking pretty good tonight? Can you feel that?
Yeah. And it's a cool feeling. Sometimes you can even feel it in the pregame.
Yeah.
Like you can feel the conversation. You can feel that like the crew is jiving and like everyone they have input. They feel comfortable.
Right.
And that comes into my play where I felt uncomfortable. And there are things that I know that I would have loved someone to say to me to help pull me out of myself when I'm getting in my own head. And I try that in my pre-games, and it really helps people. Like you can feel that going onto the court. You can also feel when the train goes off the tracks.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I know. I know. That train goes off the tracks. It's bad news. And then you think, how do I navigate it? Well, when that train goes off the tracks, I mean, that just proves, okay, let me see exactly what kind of crew chief I am.
Right.
I mean, because, the pilot that landed the plane in the Hudson River, he was just a pilot until all of a sudden the plane was going down and he still got that baby on the ground.
Right.
That's a true leader, crew chief, whatever you want to call it. When it goes south, can you point that thing back north again? And that's a difficult difficult job to do, no matter who's on the game with you. What do you think?
Yeah, and sometimes like I try to make it my goal to figure out when the crew is braking and to fix it before the plane crashes. Because sometimes you can sense it. Sometimes you can feel when someone's not, they feel like their area is getting stepped on or they don't feel comfortable, and you just walk up and you just like, hey, Jeff, you good? You good with that? Okay, cool. And sometimes it's just a smile. Sometimes you smile when you're running down the court. Thumbs up when they get a good call.
Right.
bring them back to the game.
I call it bending, but not breaking, right? It's okay if it bends a little bit. We just don't want it to break. I'm going to share just a short story with you about June Corteau. I was young in my officiating career, and I had made a call that, maybe a rebounding foul or whatever it was, and the home arena crowd did not like it. Did not like it. And this is like, this is little old Jeff Cross working with great big June Corteau. I'm already just pretty sheepish anyway. So I'm working the game and I make this call and, everybody goes nuts and it's a whole big thing, right? And we end up going to timeout and I come back walking by June and June goes, this crowd wouldn't know a good call if they saw it. You know what I mean? And it was just enough for me to go, because I was bending. You know what I mean? I was like, oh boy, I may never blow my whistle again. And she straightened me out just like that, and that was done. And
Right.
I don't know that I was fine. I probably spent the rest of the time like on cloud nine. Hey, did you hear June Corteau talk to me?
Right.
So right, yeah, they're arguing with me. Hey, June Corteau said I'm really good, so I'm going to go with it. So I had to share that story. All right, so this is great stuff. So let's move to the next step. The next step being, what is your next step? What steps are you going to take? What ideas do you have to get to that end of the rainbow for you, or what is the end of the rainbow for you, and then how are you going to get there?
Well, for me, the end of the rainbow is just to be a big time Division I official. Like,
Okay.
I would love the opportunity to work the Final Four one day, and I really love women's college basketball. I think it's an awesome game, and I just want to take it all the way to the top. For me, it's just honestly, it's taking the most out of the opportunities given to me, because I don't have control over which games I get where, what the competitiveness is, how many games I get. It's just taking, like, if I have an opportunity, taking it. And personally, it's just really trying to improve on what I learned last year. Take that confidence, take that crew chief mentality into every situation, whether I am a crew chief or not. I can tell you, I still struggle when I'm put on a big game with people that I know are big time, and I know I'm that you too. And even though I have all the mixings of a referee at that moment, somehow all the ingredients disappear.
Right. Yeah.
So
yeah. The soup doesn't taste very good.
no, it's not good at all. And I might be able to gather it up after like the first 5 minutes or so, but that's already too late.
It could be, yeah.
Like, I really want to make sure that, and I noticed I started getting better with that, with those bigger level games, that I want to always be on point. I want to always have that this year and just prove that I am ready for the next step to everyone, so that if someone asks, there's no doubt.
So what's the plan? You're saying, okay, I want to be ready. I want to prove I'm that crew chief amongst already proven crew chiefs. You want to prove that. So you're ready for that next level game, that Division I game, or maybe a Division II playoff game, or whatever that is. Do you have anything in mind besides saying I'm going to be ready all the time? Is there a process you can go through? What is that?
Yeah, like I've learned that my process for getting ready for games last year was not consistent.
Okay.
So if I had a game break in between a game, or like a day break, I would spend time researching teams, records, going over rules, looking over star players, looking at film, and then weeks would go by where I had multiple games and then I wouldn't. So that is my goal this upcoming year, is to make my video breakdown and my film work and my preparation for each game consistent. Because I did notice that the games that I prepared for went a lot better than the ones I didn't. So just putting more time in the game outside the court is something that I need to do a little bit better of.
Isn't that interesting? You say you believe one of the ways that you're going to get better on the floor is to be better off the floor.
Oh, 100%.
Isn't that interesting? There's a lot of officials out there, high school, college, whatever it is, think the reason they are going to excel is because they're really good on the floor. Well, I believe anybody can get to the floor. It's a matter of how you stay on the floor.
Exactly.
Everybody can get that opportunity, but you're saying I need to step up my game off the floor so I can be just as good on the floor as I was last year, if not better.
Right.
Wow, that's awesome. That's awesome. Do you have what about like mentors? Is that how do you feel about that scenario?
Well, it's interesting because I hear people bring up the word mentor a lot.
Hmm.
And I know that starting as a young official, the word mentor is daunting. Everyone's like, you need a mentor. It's like, you
Yeah,
need a mentor. And I'm like, where do I get a mentor?
yeah.
And
Where's they got those at Walmart? Because I'm
where's
looking
the
for one.
store?
Yeah.
I
Are
have a
they at Dick's Sporting Goods? Because I'll go get one.
it's just,
Right.
and I was the kind of person that I didn't like asking for help.
Hmm.
And so because again, in my head, asking for help meant that I couldn't do it.
Hmm.
But I'll tell you what I found is more important to me in this stage of my career is my circle of friends.
Hmm.
Really, the officiating group that you form is what helps make you get through the season. You need to have someone where if you have a crazy play, you
Hmm.
call them up and you're like, hey, this has happened. I
Hmm.
remember I was in the car once and I just half-heartedly mentioned a play. The person I was driving with, like, what's it called? Speakerphone someone else who speakerphoned someone else. And we were talking to four people.
Right.
And
Yeah.
then we went down the rabbit hole with the play.
Mhm. Yeah. Right.
And that was cool. And then that relationship spirals into more.
Hmm.
And then once you have your core circle group, then mentors start to rise out of it.
Hmm.
That's kind of what I've found. And a mentorship is an organic relationship that starts with a friendship because you have to be able to talk to that person. You have to be able to let them tell you exactly what they think.
Hmm.
If you don't have that relationship, it's not going to work.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but I have a lot of my close friends in officiating. I can't imagine the season without them.
Hmm.
So that I found is more important, at least in this stage of my career.
Yeah, in my experience, sometimes mentors or mentees, they come out. It's not like you're probably the least person you expected to be a mentor is your mentor, or the least person you were expecting to have to mentee. You weren't expecting that. It's just like you said. You discuss things. Next thing you know, you're in a study group, or you meet at a meeting and you had dinner. The next thing you know, you've got this mentor-mentee relationship, and you know I find that a lot of times I learn more from my mentees than sometimes I do my mentors. I have those mentors and I'm able to help mentor a few people. Well, I learn from them just when they ask me a question. I go, whoa, that's a good question. So
Yeah,
now I got my nose in the book and I'm trying to figure it out. And even though maybe they're a younger official, they are still mentoring, the mentor.
right.
It's a mentor relationship, not the mentor mentee. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and it's
Hmm.
like different people are good at different things.
Sure. Yeah, that's
Like
right.
if I wanted to talk to someone about dealing or talking to coaches, I would
Mhm.
call you up and be like, "Hey, give me one of those lines,"
Yeah, right. Hmm.
But
Yeah.
then if there's someone like I can rattle off like two names that I know are just rule book people,
Hmm.
and then you have like the basketball knowledge people, the people that have played their whole life, and then if you get them in a room together, then you kind of get a mix of everything.
Right.
Like I think the way you say I feel like the mentor mentee relationship is kind of old school.
Yep.
That it's really all about you finding your core group and working together
Yep.
to get up to the top.
Right, exactly. I think this is great, and we're just about done here. But I just wanted to say, because did you mention that you never played basketball? Did you mention that?
Yes.
Not for sure if it was before or after. Well, I've never played basketball either, and this is just me, my thought process. Sometimes people like ourselves who don't have any playing experience, we're better students of the game because we know nothing about it.
Right.
We know nothing about it, and we're just there to adjudicate the rules. And we can follow those rules because we never played the game or go, oh, that ref should let that call go, or I can't believe they called the travel there, whatever that is. We're better at adjudicating those rules because we've never played it. We don't have that investment. It's kind of like, when I went to umpire school, they wanted younger umpires, people that have never umpired before, because if they've been umpiring for 15 years and then they went to umpire school to try and teach them how to umpire in Major League Baseball, well, they had 15 years of bad habits.
Okay.
You
Yeah.
know, we don't have any bad habits. When they started teaching us, we're like, hey, whatever you want us to do, you know what I mean? I'll run with 1 foot in the air, whatever you want me to do.
Okay.
Yeah, right. If that's what it's going to take. So I think that's I think that's, first of all, hope for people that are watching and go, man, I've never played before. Do I even have a chance to be a good referee? Well, I think you have a better than average chance to be a good referee at never playing. So what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I agree. Some things come easier to me than others. And then there are things that are difficult. Like I remember when I was at a clinic once and someone had to explain to me what a pick and roll was.
Right. Yeah. Right.
Because I was like, what's a pick and roll?
Yep.
Or what a set defense is, or
Yeah.
learning about that. But I found that I can learn that just as easy as the rules by looking up coaching videos.
Yep.
So I'll look up like set offenses and I'll learn how the defense sets up off of it, or like what a pick and roll is.
Yeah, right. You know, it's funny that you say that, because I have a similar story that's just as funny. Is, people ask, well, how do you know what defense they're in? Well, I've never played the game, so I don't know if they're in the zone, man, 3-1, whatever it is. I don't have any idea. You know how I know? I keep my ears open. And I listen to the assistant coach go, hey, they're in the zone. Oh, they're in the zone. I got it. No problem. That's how I do that. I mean, because I know I need to know that, but I have a hard time recognizing that. So I listen, I keep my ears open. So great stuff, Leanne. I hope to see you coming up in October, right? Are you going to be over in Rockford?
I will not, unfortunately.
Okay. Well,
but I will be. I'm going to, where am I going? Philadelphia for the NCAA clinic.
Oh, okay, great. So yeah, so you haven't seen a meeting yet? I went just last week, and it's great. You're gonna love it. So that's awesome. But all right, so we're gonna wrap things up. We didn't be on for at least 30 minutes. So again, follow me on YouTube. Just search Jeff Cross on YouTube, right? And then if you have any questions, you can email me at jeffcross22@gmail.com. If you have a question for Leanne,
it's LETHOM as in mom, P as in Paul, SON as in no, 89@gmail.com.
Leanne Thompson, 89. Perfect. All right. Well, thanks a lot, everybody. And we will see you next time. Bye, Leanne.